Welcome to the Firebelly Social Show. We're focused on talking to food and beverage brands that are on a mission to make the world better.
Hey, everyone. Duncan here with another episode of the Firebelly Social Show, where I chat with founders and leaders of mission-driven food and beverage brands. It's a mouthful, I know, but that's what it is. And I'm so excited to do it. I love to do it. It's one of my favorite things. Today, we're going to be talking to a guy that knows what it takes to grow a food and beverage brand from startup to scale with Jordan Buckner. He's the founder of Foodbevy, a game-changing platform supporting early-stage CPG brands. Now, look, there's other platforms that claim to support early-stage food and beverage brands, but it's kind of like a jungle on some of these platforms. So I really appreciate what Jordan's doing. But first, a big thank you to our sponsor, Firebelly Marketing. At Firebelly, we help food and beverage brands with a mission to connect with their audience and build loyal communities. We help them build a brand on social. We help them with retail velocity. So if you're ready to turn content into connection and growth, head over to firebellymarketing.com. So let's talk about Jordan, my man, Jordan Buckner. He's the founder of Foodbevy, a platform built to bridge the gap between emerging food and beverage brands and the tools, resources, and connections they need to scale. And the guy knows what's up because before founding Foodbevy, Jordan founded T-Squares, a line of superfood energy snacks designed to help people stay sharp and energized throughout their day. His journey as a founder inspired him to take a better path for other entrepreneurs, one that's supportive, connected, and rooted in actionable insights. So in our conversation today, we're going to dig into how they're doing that, how they're simplifying growth for startup brands, the power of founder community, something I care about very much, and what makes the new Insider Boxes a must-watch initiative in the CPG world. What's up, my man? Welcome.
Thanks, Duncan. I'm excited to be here. I've been wanting to talk to you for a long time now, so excited to get into it.
Yeah, man. Jordan, let me just ask you, I got to get to this immediately. I can't even do any small talk today. I got to just ask you, how did you know the moment that the industry needed something like Foodbevy? Because I know this had to have been something you experienced personally. It's changing the game, but what was the genesis?
Let me tell you, so Foodbevy, as you mentioned, is a platform to help food and beverage brands grow from startup to scale. So it's providing inspiration, education, and connecting founders really with the great partners to help grow their business. And I started this 5 years ago. It was kind of right before the pandemic happened, actually. And I was running my own CPG brand, T-Squares, as you mentioned. And at that point, I was 5, 6 years into the business, but I just remember every single year feeling like there's something new to learn that I had no idea about, right? When we first started, it was how do we create packaging? How do we get labels? How do we source products that are food safe? How do we manufacture products, right? All these things in the CPG industry. And there's Google, there are a couple like accelerators and things out there, but there wasn't a go-to place that you can get all this information. And so for Foodbevy, that's why I want to create one destination where you can learn everything that you need to start and build a food and beverage brand with how-to guides, resources, connection, and the right partners and resources to do it along the way. Because let's face it, building any business is really hard. Like, it doesn't have to be this damn hard. Like, it should be a little bit easier. Everyone has kind of done the basics before, and so you shouldn't have to reinvent the wheel.
I mean, and as you say this, it's so clear to me, being in the business we're in, the challenges that so many founders, face firsthand. I mean, and it's not even necessarily about, selling or distribution. It's like early stage, challenges. And it seems to me like the word of the moment in this situation is access.
Yes, it's all about access. And I'll tell you, when I started T-Squares, I had no background in the CPG food industry. It was all new to me. And I didn't come from a network that had big access. I didn't know the connections. I wasn't from the industry. And so for me, I was learning everything from scratch. And let's face it, there's a lot of founders out here who are underrepresented, women-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses, tons of others who are like, just don't have the same access and resource, even other, founders out there. And so my whole goal was to democratize access to this information to any and every founder to make that barrier to entry a lot lower so that brands could and founders could have that opportunity to find success with their business.
And not only access, right? Because you're connecting them with all these things. I mean, of course, they've got to take the step, but you're making it easy for them, which you didn't have. But it's one step further, right? Because I know you talk and emphasize community.
Yeah, so definitely all about community, and we do that in a couple ways. One, even though we have over 5,000 CPG brands who are using the Foodbevy platform, I'm reaching out to hundreds, probably thousands of brands to say like, hey, what help do you need? What access do you need? I'm connecting founders with other founders. I'm connecting and recommending them to the right partners for them to grow their business and connecting them to those right tools, resources along the way, and then helping them connect with each other. So one thing we've done before is run like mastermind groups where we actually bring founders together. They can be in the pod of 4 or 5 other founders and talk about the challenges that they have in their business so that they don't feel as alone.
That's phenomenal. I mean, we all know that leading any initiative, especially like a high stakes initiative, can be so many things. Like it's stressful, there's pressure, there's threats, and it's most of all lonely, right? And so,
Yeah.
did you experience that when you were a founder?
So before, yes, and I saw it for in different ways. So prior to T Squares, actually, my first official business was a meal kit delivery company called Chopbox. It was kind of like Blue Apron plated, but right when they were all first getting started as well. And in that business, I started on my own. I was literally doing everything from the website, soliciting customers, like packing all the food orders. I was like chopping up vegetables and things like in our commercial kitchen, hand delivering those around Chicago where we were based and doing everything myself. And frankly, I got burned out pretty fast doing that. And so with T Squares actually brought on eventually 3 other co-founders, plus myself. So there were 4 of us. We had investors, and so lots of stakeholders. And so I've seen, the pros and cons of both sides of one having, being a solo founder and also having lots of co-founders and decision makers along the way, and know that the journey can be tough, challenging, rewarding through all of those. And so I come with all those perspectives as well. But one thing I know is a lot of times founders feel like there's too much on my shoulders. I have no one to talk to about what's really going on, right? If someone asks you, hey, how's business going? Of course, you're going to say like, oh, it's great. Things are going well. In the back of your mind, there's, a distributor that owes you $50,000. You're worried about how to make payroll. Your sales are like doing great in one channel, but maybe tanking in another channel. You have all these concerns and worries, but there's not many people that you can share that with unless you have like a co-founder who's kind of in it. And so what I try to do is help build those relationships so that founders don't have to feel as lonely going through this journey.
I mean, that is phenomenal because that is kind of, I think, the linchpin between success and just being, right? I mean, not that being isn't enough, but to get success, which is what everybody wants, that's the pin. Now, you're curating so many resources along the way. I mean, you're offering access to tools, to services, to service providers. That must be, a very heavy lift. How do you choose your partners and what are some of the tools you think early stage brands need to be aware of?
Yeah, so we've been around for 5 years now, as I mentioned, and I just did a count. We're over, I think, 220 podcast episodes, 750 articles that we've posted, pretty close to 100 webinars. So there's a lot of stuff out there. And at the same time, we make it searchable so that founders can find the right information they need, but it can also be overwhelming. So the number one tool we actually built last year was our guide to building a food and beverage brand. Essentially, it's an outline of the entire process. Think of it like a digital ebook that you can take a look at no matter where you are on your journey. You're just getting started out or you're a couple years down the road. And it covers everything from how to form your business, how to create products, how to bring those to market, working with retailers, distributors, contract manufacturers, investors, really the marketing, the entire spectrum of building a business. And think of it like your 101 introductory or 102 kind of intermediate level class that goes through all those details. So you can read it from front to bottom. You can jump around and go to the topic that you need. And then that also links to other resources on our site that go into more detail. So it's incredibly approachable resource to get access to knowing like what's that next step. I remember early on the journey, I went through an accelerator program and there was a founder who was starting out And we had these, weekly workshops, bringing in experts, and they'd always ask, "What questions do you have for me?" And I remember he said, "I don't even know the questions that I should be asking." Right? Like it's not that I have this problem. Like I don't know what's coming next. And so I need help knowing what's going to come next so I can start preparing for it now. And that's really what this guide is. It helps founders understand what's coming next so they can be prepared to ask those right questions and get answers to them.
I mean, I think that is invaluable, right? I mean, even as an agency owner, spent the first, few years not knowing what was coming next, not being in touch with other people that were going through my same journey. I'd go through
Yeah.
to like say, HR professional that wasn't familiar with the agency space or an attorney, and it just is not a fit, and it's such a hassle, right? So that's amazing. Now listen, I had other questions, but I'm losing my patience. I can't wait to ask you about my favorite thing right now, which is this the insider box. And you got one in the background there for those of you that can see on video. I've got one, right next to me. Here it is. And I gotta say, the first time I heard about it, I was so excited, and I reached out to you. You're like, "Yeah, man, get on it." I got on it, and it was gone. It was gone. It was like it's a hot commodity. I've heard other founders talking about it. I was talking to Eric Martindale about it, and he was like,
Yes.
it's gone. You got to get on it." And so now, is this which iteration is this?
Yep. So the Foodbevy Insider Box program we just started this year, and it's a way to actually taste all these great products that we see on LinkedIn, Instagram, that we hear about on news sites. We just released our summer edition, summer 2025, which you receive and I have here in the background. We're working on our fall edition that will be launching in just a few weeks now. So as you mentioned, there's a limited quantity, so they will sell out. So get on it fast before you miss yours. But essentially, right, like I've been doing this for years. Every week I'm posting news about dozens of brands, new product launches, new retailer launches, all this exciting stuff, and realize 80% of them, I've never actually tried the product. And it's not because I don't want to, but they might not be at my local store. I don't want to necessarily like go on Amazon or their site and buy a 12 pack if I just want to try one of them. And so really the discovery box, or the insider box that we have is a way to discover all these products, try them out and taste them so that you have some more context, right? So when you see like one of the brands behind me, Better Sour, founded by Samira and Bella. Bella's the founder of Shaka Tea, which sold to the company that owns King's Hawaiian, right? Like awesome product, gummies are great. And this is a way to try them in the box so that you can see if they're for you, become an early adopter, an early customer, and go on to support those brands either as the customer, as an investor, as a retail buyer, as a distributor, right? To like get these products into your hands. So it's been a really fun initiative. I'll give a little sneak peek. We're working with some awesome brands for the fall. One of our most requested products is Mark Samuel's new kettle chips that he's launching. And so stay tuned. You might see those in the fall edition coming up.
Wow, I hadn't heard about this. What's the story behind the kettle chips?
Yeah, so for those who know, right, Mark Samuels, he ran I1 Organics, which was a line of like protein sticks and crisps and things like that for a while. Eventually, kind of sold off that brand, and over the past couple of years, he's been really posting around living out his values. He's a serial entrepreneur. This is probably his like fifth company, came from the fitness space, but he's realized he wants to build a brand around family, around faith, around health. And with his last company, they were good products, but they were kind of a little niche. People have really had to have a lot of education to understand what they were. So he said, how can I reinvent a really simple product like kettle potato chips, but make it better for you, right? And using avocado oil for the chips, really great ingredients, clean ingredients. He's putting his face on the packaging out there. His kids are on the back of the packaging. So it's really embodying all of his values in a really great product.
That's really, really cool. I mean, we have our own name for the insider box around here.
Was it?
We call it Jordan's treasure box.
I love it.
And I got to tell you, I was telling you in the pre-show that, I made the mistake of having the box delivered to our office. And, we're a food and beverage agency. And little did I know that there was a fight going to ensue on who was going to eat what and what Duncan, you can't have any because we got to shoot the products. And so it really is kind of like treasure around here. And I suspect that's the case. It is, I don't know what the persona is, but my guess is it's someone that wants to try new things. They want to do it before anyone else does. There's some kind of like, what is it called? Bragging rights or, the
Yeah, everyone wants to be like that first person to like learn about, share a brand, get that word of mouth. And so a couple things. One, these boxes, anyone can buy them, but I'm specifically designing these for retail buyers, distributors, agency owners like yourself, consultants, other founders who are really into industry and want to be the first to try out these new products. And as you mentioned, they go fast. Everyone wants to try these things. They're things that people have heard about, they've been wanting to try. And so we've actually after our initial trial, we had a bunch of companies come to us and they're like, hey, I want to get one of these for each of my employees every quarter, which we release boxes once a quarter, to have like an event around. We bring everyone together, try all the products, figure out which ones are our favorites. And then that way we can stay on top of what's new in the industry, what's hot, and it can help our teams improve and be better connected to what's actually going on in the space. And so I'm really excited about that. So if anyone listening to this has a team, want to buy it for your team members, we also can set that up for you too.
I mean, that's so cool. I gotta switch topics here for a second, and we'll come back to this. But you've said that LinkedIn is your secret weapon. How do you use LinkedIn, and what more importantly, I guess, for your audience, what makes it so valuable for founders of CPG brands?
Duncan, let me tell you, I don't know about you, but LinkedIn is the most social of any social networks that are out there, right? Like we forget the days of early Facebook when you're talking with your friends, you're talking with your family, you're talking with your colleagues on there. Like that doesn't happen across most platforms, not Facebook, not Instagram, not TikTok. Only things out there is like maybe X if you're on it, maybe a little bit on Reddit and LinkedIn. And what I found that's all great about it is that you're having real conversations with people who, right, like have a personality. They're not like a faceless head. They're not some brand that's out there. These are the founders. These are the operating officers. These are directors of companies. And you're able to build genuine relationships. And I know for a lot of people, I've been talking with over LinkedIn, having conversations for years, finally get on a Zoom call or see them in person, and it feels like I know them because of all the information that we share back and forth. It's social, it's engaging, it's connecting. But I've never actually met them before. And so there are literally hundreds of people like that because of LinkedIn, right? And so on the flip side, something like Instagram, which, is great. I maybe comment like once or twice on an image there, but like I don't really know the person behind the brand. Everything's kind of curated from a brand experience there, let alone like most of the positive content. You're starting to see more behind the scenes with reels and videos from founders, which I think is really great. But there's usually not like as much of a two-way conversation. It's usually like a one-way conversation, a comment, maybe a short response. So that's why I'm very bullish on LinkedIn. I've probably spent way too much time on it. I'm on LinkedIn all day long, but it's great. I love it.
I mean, I echo what you're saying. It's such a magical experience when you meet someone for the first time in person that you've been talking to on LinkedIn, and it really it feels like the early days of chat, right? Where you the development of the relationship is accelerated. Now, of course, doesn't happen for everyone. It has to be affinity and some common values, but I mean, when it does, it's just magic because you're starting at 60 miles an hour.
It is. It's great. And there's like multiple conversations across the post, right? So it's not just like you and me chatting, but I'll see you comment on someone else's post about another topic, then I'll jump in over there. And then you see something that I post over here on someone else's post and you comment on mine. And so there's this kind of ever-going conversation that we're all part of.
And so, I mean, I feel like and I tell founders this all the time. It's like, hey, even if you're an introvert, you got to be on LinkedIn. And they'll say things like, well, how is it, going to help me with awareness, or how is it going to help me with sales? And I'm like, because each one of those people knows what it's like. They're connected to so many people. And so it's kind of like, I can't say it's a catalyst because catalysts don't get involved in
Sure.
the chemical reaction. It's like a change agent, it's a disruption and it's acceleration. So do you advise the founders that are in your programs that they need to use LinkedIn heavily?
Here's my honest thought on that. I love LinkedIn as a platform. I think everyone should be on LinkedIn and engage, but it's very important to understand what it is and what it isn't, and what it also shows about brands and founders, I think. So for me, when I was running T Squares, I was on LinkedIn all the time, I was having these conversations, but it was also a little bit of an escape for having to run like the day-to-day operations of my business, right? And like, would that time be better spent calling buyers at retailers, doing store visits? I think at that time, to some degree, probably a little bit. But at the same time, we were able to meet partners through LinkedIn. And so I think you need to take a very strategic approach to how you're using it, right? And so if you're operating a business, if you have things that can help grow your business more than LinkedIn is becoming a distraction, set a parameters around, say like, hey, I'm going to spend 30 minutes, an hour a day. I'm going to post once a week, once a day, whatever your cadence is, to share news updates, to engage in some conversations. But I also say, like, if you are primarily like building a product, like go out there and build, go find your customers, go sell more stuff. Transparency for me, right? Like I'm sharing news and connecting people within the industry. And so my job is actually includes being on LinkedIn. Being on LinkedIn helps directly like what I do. I'll say there's a couple of things too, right? Like I can always tell when businesses are not doing well because founders who consistently post all their wins on LinkedIn will just stop and disappear for like 3 months. And I'll look back and I'm like, oh, they haven't posted anything in 3 months. Things aren't going well. And then I'll find out, they're going out of business or something. And not that those two things are correlated, but I do believe there's tons of very successful founders who are like, I don't have time for the social stuff just during the day. Like I'm out here building and like running my company. And so like I'm gonna go out and sell. So all that to say, LinkedIn is definitely really powerful. Don't get lost on it if you're out there building because it's an easy distraction not to do the harder things in your business, right? It's much easier to post than to go out there and call a buyer and get rejected for the 15th time. But those are the things that you have to do if you're running that kind of business.
I mean, it is interesting. Without naming any names, of course, on either side, but I have noticed that there are some agency owners in my world who, man, they post all the time, several times a day. And I'm like, I would like to do that. I just don't have the time, and so I'm very
Well,
strategic.
why don't you have a time, Duncan? What are you doing? You running your business or something?
Exactly, exactly. And I mean, it's a hustle, like, right? Life I mean, especially if you're a leader, you're building something, life is a hustle. And I think that you do see some, family businesses, right?
Yeah.
We'll name a couple, like, hey, Bella Seafood, right? With Joshua Shares, or Amrita with Arshad Bal. I mean, and these are guys that are hustling. They've been at it for a
Yes.
while and they're hustling. And even though they're established, they run their companies like a startup. They're paying attention to trends, they're listening to the ground. They're pulling back from retail and exploring micro channels. Shout out to Mike Levinson on that one. But
Oh yeah.
what do you say, I guess, to founders like that? I mean, I'm one of those founders, right? What do you say to them for staying grounded and motivated because it's such a hustle? How do you tell people to stay grounded?
Yeah, I think that building, as we talked about, like building any business is really, really challenging. And one thing that I've learned is it definitely goes through phases. So on one hand, when I was starting out with T Squares, we took on like VC, early stage VC money really, really early, like within 6 months. And I didn't know what I was doing. Great partners, but the reality is then we had to show exponential growth in a set time for our product. And so I was constantly feeling like, use an analogy, like I was leaning over my skis, like I was almost falling over, right? We got an influx of cash. But I think we raised $100,000 in our first tranche on like $10,000 in revenue. So not like millions of dollars, but still for us, it's a lot. What that meant though, is the reality is every day our bank account went down and down and down and down. And personally, you usually want to see your bank account go up. As a business, you want to see it go up, your net worth go up. And to have that pressure of being constantly going down, I think that was extremely mentally challenging for me, right? And then it's like, how do we solve that? And there's like constantly going out, finding investors, having to get more money. Ultimately, I believe more companies should be building customer first businesses. And what I mean by that is that you should be making more money from selling to customers than you are selling to investors. And if customers can support your business, which, in a service business, you have to, there aren't investors that are out there. Like you have to be profitable, you have to make money. I think that's so important. With product-based businesses, and I know the reality, it's really expensive to get started and it's really expensive and takes a long time to like get to profitability. But if that is your focus, you will build such a strong business or grow out a business, right? I have come to understand that not every product should exist. The brand that I launched, T Squares, line of superfood energy bites, transparently, it shouldn't have existed. It was a good try. It was a great learning experience, but the demand, the cost, the business model, the messaging was not all there to build a successful company from. And because of that, I learned that quickly. We were kind of propped up for a while because of the investor money. But at the end of the day, I realized like that wasn't the best business that the world needed, that so many people needed. And so I think that's the first part. The second part is if you find that foundation where you're growing a business, maybe it's growing steadily. As a founder, it can get kind of boring, right? Like if you put systems in place, I don't know about you, but like once things are steady, I start looking for other things. And so it's so important to understand how to stay grounded, how to find those new opportunities, but within guardrails that still keep you focused. So how do you maintain the operations, the steady growth of the company while also engaging in all these new things? And shout out to Arshad. I know he's posting a lot about like getting to profitability. I think, I don't know, it's been like 8 or 10 years he's been running this business. And at that point, he's like, all right, like I can go chase some shiny object, or I can continue to steadily grow what I have. And that's the path that he's taken. So he's built that foundation, and now he's focused on like sharing that journey, continuing to build customers, connect with people and share that philosophy. And I think that's really amazing.
That's a beautiful thing. I mean, and speaking of conversion and success, I mean, you see so many brands come through the Foodbevy platform. You know, and just in terms of generalities, what separates the ones that truly connect with their consumers?
Oh, this is a tough one. I do see thousands of brands, and I'll say one of the most rewarding things are seeing founders who access resources from us early and I connect with start seeing monumental success. One example is Ashley from BTR Nation, and she has really built a founder-led brand that has great values and the philosophy around it. And I think she has built a product that has the true meaning of brand to me, which is setting out values and things that you stand for, both in your products and for your company, and living those values every day. And so to see her success and continuing to grow is absolutely amazing. On the flip side, because we work with so many brands, I will get bounce back emails from companies, and I'm like, uh-oh. I message one founder, like, yeah, we actually just filed our dissolution paperwork today because unfortunately we have to go out of business. And so I see both sides. The things that separate successful founders and products to me are a couple things. One is finding product market fit. I think it's so important to have a product that sees a exponential demand in the market, or at least a steady state where you can build a sustainably profitable company to continue to grow. And I think if you can build that, then you can have a long lasting business. There's a lot of companies that are, and founders are really good at generate hype, right? Like they're in the press, they're in the news, they're always talking about these launches. And then you hear like crickets after that. They like run out of money, or they end up getting acquired, but it's more of an asset sale, right? Like maybe they walk away with a few $100,000, maybe $1 million if they're lucky, but they realize like, all right, I've been doing this 5, 6 years. It's not seeing the exponential growth that I have. And so I think as founders like listening to this, it's so important to one, create a product that has initial demand. I always say you need one of three things: customers, cash, or community, right? If you can have one of those three elements, then you have a good chance of growing your business, especially in the first 3 years. If you have two of those elements, you are on your way to success, right? So if you have 5 million followers for a specific reason, there's a founder I know who is, I think she has celiacs, but posts a lot about gluten-free recipes. And then she made a gluten-free cookie company, Addison. And so she had the community that she was able to launch with around the topic that was so important, and customers start flooding in because they knew her, they trusted her, she was an authority, and she was able to build a business around the product like that, amazingly and successful. And so I think if you can leverage one of those three elements, or two, cash, customers, or community, then you can build a successful business or have a better chance of doing so.
That's really great. It's the 3C framework by Jordan Buckner, everybody. So I love it. And I mean, I think that brings up a really important consideration, right? It's like there's a high probability of failure. And everyone sort of, and the reason I'm saying this,
Yeah.
I just in the last few days interviewed Mike Levinson, right?
Mm.
And you guys know each other.
We do.
Yeah, FS Octopus. And so and we have a client who they started out D2C and they were doing very well. And then they started chasing retail. And then they got into an airline. So their product is a snack on Delta. And then they got in with the academies. And then they got in at some, higher end corporate campuses. And it's like, wow, look at all these channels for bringing cash in. And it sort of beats and I said to the founder, I was like, hey man, how'd you figure this out? Like what made you do it? And he said, well, because coming back to the 3C framework by Jordan Buckner, it's like I had a lot of community, but I had a limited amount of cash.
Yeah.
And I really had to be strategic about where I could get in and where it was a captive audience. He's like,
Yes.
I didn't have to go educate the corporate campus because it was free. They bought it, and it was a big tech company. They bought it, the product was there. They didn't have to worry about it. People came, they're like, oh, not only do I love it, now I'm going to go order the product at home. Right. So
Yes.
I guess my question amidst this diatribe, um, you got to be smart. You don't have to necessarily work your ass off, but you got to be smart.
And this is why I think it's so important within this industry to understand how it works, so that you don't fumble into the mistakes that other people see coming. Things like, as you mentioned, retail is very expensive. National and conventional retail is extremely expensive. But not only that, most brands, which I found out, are not profitable in a new large retailer for up to 2 years. Meaning, if you launch with, not to call it out, but like a company like Walmart or an Albertsons stores, with after every marketing, promos, discounts, all the fees, you might actually be losing money selling in those accounts for 2 years as you start building up the customer trial base. And so if you don't have the cash or the understanding to support that, then it's a quick way of going out of business. And so I'm, a big fan of Mike and love approaching food service. With T Squares, we launched in D2C. We quickly had an opportunity to sell in Whole Foods in the Chicago area. So we were selling in like Whole Foods Midwest. And after running, we like heavily promoted. I was doing sampling, demo tables every week, multiple times, running promos. And I think after a month or in one particular month, I analyzed our numbers. And I think after everything that we did, we maybe made $100 total
Wow.
after all of our expenses. I'm like, why the hell am I doing all this work to make $100? Like, I could go drive Uber for a day and make more money than that. And it was just because of everything it took to try to get that momentum going. And what we actually did, it was a conversation that I had, I guess, shout out to Whole Foods. I was demoing one day, and this guy walks up to me and he starts asking me questions, right? Like, where are you sourcing your ingredients? Tell me about your positioning. What does this mean? Like, someone I could tell was in the industry. And I was like, do you work in the CPG industry? He's like, yeah, I have a protein bar company called RX Bar. And it was Peter Rayall, who's the founder of RX Bar. We were like right around the corner from where he lived. And ended up meeting up with him a couple of weeks later, me and my co-founder. And one thing that he told me that always stuck with me was understand with your product, like what problem that it solves. And he used language around like, go to where your product hunts the best, which is basically like, who are your customers and how can you get as close to them as possible? So for RX Bar, the story's famous now, but they went to CrossFit studios and gyms and hit their target market there. For us, it was corporate offices. I mean, T squares, they're bite-sized energy squares with tea in there to help give you an energy boost. So you can have like a second cup of coffee. And for us, it was like, hey, when you're in the afternoon, I have like my second cup of matcha here. I'm a huge matcha person. But like instead of grabbing another cup of coffee, pop some T squares in and get that sustained energy to get through the day without the crash or jitters from coffee. And so for us, it was corporate offices. So we went heavy, started selling the tech offices, campuses, and that was incredibly successful. This is like 2019, 2020, early days. And what we actually found in those, like January 2020, we delivered our first like pallet to Cisco Systems out on the West Coast. We were based in Chicago. The next week, they ordered 2 pallets of product from us, like double their order a week later. And so we had to like overnight, like a 1-day shipping for 2 pallets from the Midwest to the West Coast, which is not cheap. The next 2 weeks, they ordered 3 pallets or 4 pallets. And we're like, God, like the volume on this, and they're paying right wholesale price. It wasn't discounted really. For pallets of product, they were doing more sales in our retail accounts for one office. And we're like, this is going to be amazing for us. Little did we know in March, every office shut down, that completely, dried up our cash flow, which eventually led to us shutting down. But at the time, selling to corporate offices, selling to those universities, food service was a huge opportunity. And I'm an incredible fan of those accounts. And now there's a lot of opportunity there as well. And so I always highly encourage founders, if you have a product that fits within food service, it's an amazing channel to sell to.
That's super cool. That's a great story. Thank you for sharing that. So, coming back to the Insider Box and Foodbevy, what are you excited about, man?
Yeah, so I am excited to continue helping and showcasing founders, right? So I get to be the biggest cheerleader and advocate for founders and say like, hey, look, here are the products that people need to try. How can I get these products out there? And as I'm talking to founders, I'm saying like, get your products into the hands of people who can be your best advocates within the industry, right? So you're in the room with hundreds of people here, like having conversation, like, hey, Duncan, like what's the next brand you're excited for? What's the next product and who's the founder that I should meet? And you're out there like telling and spreading the word. And if you've tried the product, you can vouch for it, then you're in the better position to help support everyone around there. And so as my job, I want to get really great products into the hands of more decision makers as possible. And so that's why I really built the Insider Box. I mean, selfishly, I get to try a lot of the products that I've always really wanted to try, but give that to other people as well. So look out, every quarter we're going to be launching a new Insider Box. As I mentioned, the fall one's coming up now. And so if founders are listening as well, you want to get in, let me know. It's an invite only process. And we actually have current insiders vote on the new products that they want to include in the next box. And so that's how we're selecting the products. But it's a really exciting opportunity. If you want to jump on our wait list, jump over to insider.foodbevy.com. You can jump on our wait list for the next box. And that's super exciting. That's like the main thing I'm working on now. We're continuing to post content, webinars, all those other resources I was telling you about out there to the world. So I think it's incredibly exciting.
That's super cool. I really appreciate everything about you, my man. I love the hustle and the fact that the hustle is really for other people. You are championing and advocating and serving founders of these emerging brands, which is possibly the most difficult part of being a brand in this space. So can't say enough about you, and thank you for making the world a better place, brother.
Oh, appreciate it. I had so much fun. I always tell people there's like, where do you see the business in 5 years? And like, I plan to be doing this basically for the rest of my life. Like, I found the thing that drives me and that gives me passion and purpose. Like, I love helping founders through Foodbevy. And so like, this is my thing. This is it for the future.
My man, I love it. I love it. And thank you again for coming on. That's a wrap, everyone. Huge, huge, huge thanks, or as we say in India, big thanks to Jordan Buckner for joining us today and sharing how Foodbevy is supporting the next wave of food and beverage founders with practical tools, real talk, and a very serious community. And you want to dig in? Hey, I'll tell you how to dig in. Visit insider.foodbevy.com to learn more, explore the insider boxes just like I'm getting ready to do, and see how Foodbevy can help you grow your brand smarter. Don't forget, if your food or beverage brand is ready to make some noise online, Firebelly Marketing has your back. Head to firebellymarketing.com and let's start building your audience together. And one last kind of editorial comment is, man, I gotta try. I'm gonna be trying these products myself. I'm excited about it. And Jordan, I made that video for you. You wanted me to make a video of my reaction to the box, and that was really, I mean, I sliced it open so I could do it smoothly on the video, but that really was my reaction. I was shocked at how much value there was in the box. I mean, it's like it's better than the GQ box, I'll tell you that.
They are packed with good stuff, and honestly, the next box is actually so big that it barely closes. I might have to get a bigger box, but we'll see. It's like literally gonna pop open when you open it.
It's like Roy Skeeter, right? In Jaws. We're gonna need a bigger boat.
Yeah, exactly.
Jordan, you're the man. Love your energy, brother. Thank you for coming on. Thank you, everyone, for listening. It's been another episode of the Firebelly Social Show. I'm your host, Duncan Alney. We will see you on the next one.
Thanks for listening to the Firebelly Social Show. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.